Tonight we will look at Leviticus chapter 24 in something that the outside world, that many people in the world don't understand, why God's name is important. And how could a God who is so omnipotent, who is the creator of the universe, who created life, if he's so great, why does he get so mad when somebody says his name wrong? Well, they don't know the Bible at all, first of all. And second of all, who are we to counteract, to countermand, or to go against God at all? We get an early case of blasphemy and in Leviticus chapter 24, and tonight we'll examine that, and the importance of God's name goes right along with that. So what happens? In Leviticus 24, starting in verse 10, "Now an Israelite woman's son, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the people of Israel. And the Israelite woman's son and a man of Israel fought in the camp. And the Israelite woman's son blasphemed the name and cursed. Then they brought him to Moses. His mother's name was Shelomith, and the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. And they put him in custody till the will of the Lord should be made clear to them. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Bring out of the camp the one who is cursed, and let all who heard him lay their hands on his head, and let all the congregation stone him. And speak to the people of Israel, saying, Whoever curses his God shall bear his sin. Whoever blasphemes the name of the Lord shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him, the sojourner as well as the native, when he blasphemes the name, shall be put to death." What happens? Because some of this is a little bit weird. We have to understand what's going on in the camp, who's supposed to be where, what the circumstances are. We get this is what happened. So the kid, whose name is not given to us, and that'll be important, we'll talk about that in a moment. The kid who's not named is in the camp. He goes out into the camp. Well, goes out of what? Remember, as the people of Israel leave Exodus, they go up a mixed multitude, right? Well, the only people who are allowed in the camp are the ones who are children of the tribes. Well, he's the child of an Egyptian. He's not allowed to come into the camp. There's a special place outside of the camp for the mixed multitude to be. Got lepers on one side, mixed multitude on the other. You have the 12 tribes who are camping around the tabernacle in the middle. Okay? The guy leaves where he's supposed to be and comes into the camp. What happens? Well, it's my speculation, and I think this is a pretty good hypothesis, but it's my speculation that his fight has to do with where he is and what he's doing there. Now, an Israelite woman's son, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the people of Israel. And the Israelite woman's son and a man of Israel fought in the camp. So he's come into the camp, and he got in a fight with a guy who is there. I can absolutely imagine this guy. He'd wear a Second Amendment hat right now. You don't belong here. You can't come in here. This is not where you're supposed to be. I'm standing up for what the rules are. And I'm not making a slide against 2A people at all. I am one of them. The point being, I'm willing to stand up and speak out for what's right and what's supposed to be. You're not supposed to be here. So they get in a fight. Again, some of that is hypothesis. And some of it, I feel like this is the picture that's being painted. After the fight, the Shelomith's son curses the name of God. And it said that he is supposed to be taken outside the camp, and everyone who is a part of it shall put him to death by stoning him. Okay, so that's what's going on. Who are the people in the story? The kid doesn't get a name. So what are we supposed to know about him? The name that he is given is how he is described. He is the son of Shelomith, the daughter of Dibri, the tribe of Dan. Okay, what do those names mean? And then we'll understand more about who he is. So Shelomith means peaceful. Oh, that's nice. My mama's name is peaceful. It also means retribution. It's not peaceful like look out on the calm lake and it's all tranquil. It's more like peaceful like the treaty is signed, we're done fighting. It means retribution or to make whole or complete. Her name is almost restitution. Almost. It means retribution. You're made complete. Now that's a positive thing. It's also not always a positive thing. Restitution is not always a positive word. Think you got what you deserved. His grandmother's name is Dibri, which means loquacious. I don't know what loquacious means. Apparently, I am loquacious. It means wordy, to pronounce or to formalize. When we meet around the table for communion, we are loquacious about what? We proclaim the Lord's death until He comes. We want to make sure that we are weekly following the example that's set up, that we are stating formally, my God died for me, and I'm following His example. We're stating it formally. We are wordy. Okay? He is also mentioned as being of the tribe of Dan. The name Dan means to judge or to govern, to judge. So if you put all of these names together, the kid would be tainted judgment because his father's an Egyptian. He's not pure judgment. He's not purely of the tribe of Dan. He's not allowed in the camp. He's tainted judgment, talks a lot, got what he deserved. Now, does that sound like what happened in the story? He's where he doesn't belong. Someone tells him to leave. They get into a fight. And then he's more loquacious and curses God. Tainted judgment, talks a lot, gets what he deserves. Based off of how he is described or who he is said to be. He is the son of Shelomith, the grandson of Dibri, of the tribe of Dan. Okay. Who is his dad? He's not a child of God. His name is not written. Here is a precursor. He is not a child of God. His name is not written down. It's not saved for all of eternity. So who is the name? If names are so important in the story, who is the name? The name is mentioned in verse 11. The name is also mentioned in verse 16. In the original Hebrew, we are told that the woman's son blasphemed the name. And then in verse 16, that whoever blasphemes, whenever someone blasphemes the name, they shall be put to death. There are a couple of translations who fill in the blanks for you. What name? It is the name of the Lord, as they put it. And they take that from the context of the story. Originally in the Hebrew, it's not written down. So how do you blaspheme the name? The name of God. How do you blaspheme Him? It's a really cool concept. Blaspheme means to poke holes in. To pierce, to perforate, to bore, to a point. What do you do when you're arguing with someone? Not fighting necessarily, but you're having an intellectual discourse, and they have stated their position. It's your turn to rebuttal. What do you want to do about their argument? Poke holes in it. I want to poke holes in your argument. I want to make your argument less than what you made it. I want to make your argument not really worthy of I want to show you all the flaws. I want to show you all the characteristics that are wrong. Let me tell you what you didn't get right. I'm going to poke holes in it. I'm going to poke holes in the context of our lesson, the name of God. God. He continually introduces himself before he gives the 10 commandments, after he gives a series of commandments, after he tells people who he is or what he wants them to do, rather. He tells them, I am, and then he gives his name. The name that won't be pronounced, so it's been translated Adonai, or the Lord, or Jehovah, so that you keep from saying the 4 letters that are put together that God gave to Israel and says, my name is Yahweh. And to keep from mispronouncing it, probably due to, Tainted Judgment talks a lot, got what he deserved, probably mostly because of him, or in part because of this interaction, we're not going to say his name. We're not going to get close to it because I don't want to talk a lot, get what I deserve. If I'm poking holes in the one who saved me, then what am I doing? If this is continually how he puts his name before you. Remember, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Well, let me poke holes in that argument. Pharaoh let us go. Let me poke another hole. Moses is the one who led us. We poke another hole. Red Sea, nature. It closed up and drowned all the Egyptians that was chasing us. We poke some holes in your argument. It's really not. Look, we're gonna die out here. Is that really even salvation? I am gonna die anyway. Poke holes. Blaspheming God. Why might Tainted Judgment talks a lot, got what he deserved. Why might he poke holes in God? Mom's allowed in the camp. Why can't I go in? Now, that sounds pretty heartless. It doesn't sound very kind. Number one, Mama did the wrong thing in the first place. She was not given permission to enter into this relationship. God is looking for purity. And before we get into the 21st, 22nd, 23rd maybe century of understanding racism and what that conversation has become now, the conversation and the context of what God has done here is, you are pure. These people don't follow your gods. They are going to drag you off into following gods that will not save you. Let me save you. And she has said no. And so now, Tainted Judgment talks a lot, gets what he deserved, has come into the camp and said, I don't like the way you're serving this God. I don't like his rules, and I'm not going to follow him because he's where he ought not be. And then because he has cursed God. He's challenged the rules. Challenging the rules is what the problem is in the first place, isn't it? Here's the Garden of Eden. I've watered it. I've planted it. You're never going to die. Do one thing. Stay away from that tree right there. Let me challenge that rule. It looks good. I'm going to eat off of it. Constantly, the children of Israel are going to challenge the rules of God. They're going to murmur against God. They're going to want to go back to Egypt. Salvation is in God. God made a perfect world and man ruined it. God saves and man despises it. God is for you. Don't speak against him. It's not very difficult, but it is very difficult if we don't appreciate who God is and what he has done. And so continually God is reminding them, I'm the God that saved you from the land of Egypt. I took you out of bondage. I'm going to make you a great people. I'm taking you to a land where you have to do nothing. The houses are built. The food is already there. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. If you walk in, I'll send hornets to get rid of the people. I'll send hail to get rid of the people. I'll strike them down with lightning if I choose to. All you have to do is walk in. And yet, constantly they have to be reminded. The way Isaiah is going to put it is, You who hide deep from the Lord your counsel, whose deeds are in the dark, and who say, who sees us, who knows us? You turn things upside down. Shall the potter be regarded as the clay, that the thing he made should say to its maker, he didn't make me? Or the thing formed say of him who formed it, he has no understanding. To blaspheme is to say, I know better than God what he ought to do. I know better than God how man should be saved. I know better than God how I should live my life. And when I'm done, God owes me heaven. Poke holes in believing in the finished work of Christ. Poke holes in his blood will do what I tell it to. Poke holes in obeying his commands is blasphemy. To not appreciate God for all that he has done and to say, you owe me more. You'll do what I need you to do because what? And this is where Isaiah puts it so well. It's all upside down. To lose respect for the Creator. Isaiah is saying, how dare you say anything? How could you possibly challenge God? How dare you speak against the Creator? So today, we are saved in no other name. In Acts chapter 4, in a sermon, it's mentioned, we'll pick up verse 10 in the middle of that sermon. Let it be known to all of you and to all the people of Israel that by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, whom you crucified, whom God raised from the dead, by him, this man is standing before you well. This Jesus is the stone that was rejected by you, the builders, which has become the cornerstone. And there is salvation in no one else. For there is no name under heaven among men by which we must be saved. Do not blaspheme the name. There's only one way to be saved. The Israelites are taken out of Egypt, and they have a wonderful illustration for us to look at and say, there is the bondage of sin in this life that I can be freed from if I will follow God. Will I call on his name? Will I give it the proper appreciation? Because there's the two sides. There is the disregard for the name of God and what it has the power to do. Everything that is behind who he is. Who is he? What did we talk about a couple of weeks ago? Or last week? Be holy because you're trying to be like God. The week before that, who is God? He is holy. He is other. He's not inside creation. He's completely different, set apart, and untainted by any of the problems or issues that we have. He has no sin because he's outside of all of that. Or the blasphemy of he's just like anything else. There's a song a while back, what if God was one of us, just a stranger on the bus? It's so far beyond missing the point. It's difficult to respect God for who he is because he is so much further beyond what our comprehension is. But would you want to serve a God who's any less than that? I don't want to serve a God who's like me because I can't even do what I want to do. I almost yelled at David tonight. I really feel bad about that, David. I almost yelled at David. I was like, as I said a thing. And I felt terrible about it. He apparently, I appreciate that it did not impact you. And it was much more impactful for me. But I didn't feel like I gave enough respect to a man who has proven through his life what a good Christian he is. And I used not enough respect in that conversation. I don't want a God who's like me. I'm nothing. How will I say to the Creator, you're going to form me like this, you're going to do whatever in my life? No, I need a God, and thanks be to him, that is so much better, so much different, so far beyond what I am, that while I was still an enemy, and while I'm still imperfect, he loves me. And so I encourage you, as it says in Romans, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. We can look at other passages about how this is defined and what obedience comes from calling on the name of the Lord. And we can do that if you'd like to take the time to do that. But that's not what Tainted Judgment, runs his mouth, got what he deserved, does. He's angry about the situation, maybe. He's angry about the way things are going in this camp. If you want to look at the world, you can find anything you want to be angry about. And if you can't, just change which news you're getting. It'll be easy. But what doesn't change is God, the power behind His name, and that His salvation is offered forever. Why does blasphemy bring death? Because it's disrespect to the one who gives life. If you need to call on the name of the Lord, we're ready to receive that, to facilitate you in doing so this evening. Whatever your needs are, make them known as we stand and sing.